Hello,
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's it doing with you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for willing to do this.
Sure. Well, it's a Wednesday, middle of the week. Not a lot going on.
Y-
It's always a crazy time, but I'm happy to jump in there for you.
Of course. Just like I've done it with Jessica and Grant George yesterday.
There you go. There
So
you
yeah,
go.
you're
There you
not the
go.
only one. But yeah,
No, no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
of
Well,
course.
the holidays are fast upon us, and that usually means a little bit of a slowdown in the industry. So we're all busting our butts to try and get as much done as possible.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I've been
So,
getting to know so much about you since Scarecrow from Batman Arkham Asylum, which I've seen that game back then since I was 8 years old. And my
oh,
uncle used
geez.
to play that game. And and since that, I've been getting to know so much about you. And to tell you the truth, I never knew what anime was back then. And by the time I discovered One Punch Man, I realized what anime is and who the voice actors are. That's where I discovered everybody, including you, Dino.
Well, there you go. I am honored. I am absolutely honored.
Of
So, what
course.
would you like to know? What would you like to know?
You know what? I was gonna ask you this, but I've got many questions I wanted to ask you.
Go for it. You have my undivided attention, mainly because I locked the cats out of my office.
Oh, tell me, how is
Mhm.
it like being a voice actor in many animated projects and others yet to come?
Oh, it's awesome. I get to make funny noises, and in exchange, they give me little green rectangles with presidents on them that I can exchange for goods and services like rent and toilet paper and food. It's wonderful. I mean, I play pretend for a living. It is absolutely awesome. I get to dive in and find that inner child that learned how to play pretend way back when, and just fully embrace that. It's just like, if you look at a little kid, and the kid's wearing like an Incredible Hulk t-shirt, and you tell the kid, hey, be the Hulk. The kid doesn't, stop and think, well, I'm a little too grown up for that, or, well, let me sense memory, David Banner and gamma rays. And he goes, no, the kid just goes, right? He just jumps right in, or just goes right, just makes it real and dives in and pretend. And that's what we as actors do. That's what we tap into, that heightened sense of pretend, and make that real for us all over again, many years after most of us are told that that's child stuff, put it away. But no, that's our bread and butter. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
I see. So that's what it's like about being a voice actor there, which leads me to the most
Well, that's
important
part of it.
question.
That's part of it. That is part of it. The other part of it is that being a voice actor, I am not beholden to how I look or how old I am, or any of these things. It's all up to whatever voice that I can create. So that aspect of the on camera actor is not a problem for me. So that's the other aspect that's quite wonderful. I can be whoever I can sound like, basically, and I don't have to worry about people saying, you're the wrong height, you're the wrong weight, you're the wrong this or that or whatever. Doesn't matter. That not an issue. So that's the other thing that's great about being a voice actor.
That's a good point right there, which leads me to the most important question. But how did you get into voice acting? And what is the best decision you made so far that has excelled into your voice acting career? For what purpose?
Well, the way I got into it, I was working with some fellow actors, all in film classes, who were making money on the side working for sound companies. There was a sound company in particular called Ryder Sound, and that was located in Hollywood. And we were learning a lot of post production sound. We were just making money on the side, working post production on low budget independent films, all kinds of things like that. And I was actually learning what is called Foley walking, which is where you do sound effects live to picture. Like somebody throws a punch, smacks somebody else. It's usually two people, one person who's holding an arrow, and another person who's got like a catcher's mitt, baseball mitt. And the person with the arrow, when the person throws the punch, person whips that arrow in front of the mic, and the other person hits the baseball mitt, and it's timed perfectly. And that's the sound effect you're actually hearing. And I was working on a film, doing Foley work on this film called House with William Catt and Richard Mall that was released in the mid 80s. And I was working on that. And there was a sequence in which there was this character that called a little critter, was this little monster thing that kidnaps this child. And this little critter was actually little person actor Felix Silla. Wonderful person, wonderful person. He was in the suit and it had this big smile on its face, and he was doing this rocking thing. And the director, Steve Miner, had said, "Oh, right, that character is supposed to be doing this crazy laugh." And me, just heard that and immediately it said into the mic, and Miner was like, do that again. And I did it. And before I knew it, now I was suddenly part of the Walla team doing sound. And me and this gal did, because it was a male and female little critter. We did the little critters, and wound up doing a number of voices throughout that film. And that's how I got started. And I basically just stayed working in that from that point on. It was also my first experience in Hollywood disappointment, because I took my girlfriend and some friends to Westwood to see the movie when it premiered opening weekend. And when the credits roll, my name wasn't in it. And not even under the post-production sound crew. And to this day, every time I have, when the IMDb became a thing, and I would say, I would submit to them, I was the voice of the little critter, I did post-production, they would always say, these credits have been closed. Yeah, for years now. So I still can't get an official, but that's me. You watch that movie, you listen to those little critters laughing, and a number of other characters throughout the film, background characters. You'll hear my voice all through. And in fact, it was I think a couple Halloweens ago that I put the movie on and for my son. And he was like, "That's you." I was like, "Yeah, that's me." But so that's how it all got started. As far as the smartest thing I ever did, I didn't do it on purpose for voiceover. It just happened to be something I was very, very interested in. Was I went through the whole program with the Groundlings in comedy improv. And that trained me to think very, very quickly, to be good at improvising, be funny when I improvise, and come up with characters without thinking about it. And those turned out to be the most valuable things I could possibly have as a voice actor, because so much of what we do, we don't get to see scripts in advance, especially video games. They're so paranoid with video games about secrets of the game getting out that oftentimes, not only do you not see a script in advance, you may not even have a script in the session. You could show up and sitting on the podium is nothing. There may not even be a podium. There's just a screen on a wall that is connected to the director's laptop, and he's sending me lines like 3 at a time, and then saying, "Well, here's the context." So I didn't even get to prepare. All of us who do a lot of video games are just master cold readers. Instantly create performances and characters. My good friend Dave Fenoy calls it instant acting, and he's absolutely right. And it was my improv training that made that possible. So to me, that was the smartest thing I ever did. I also trained the Meisner Institute and all of this good stuff, get those acting chops down because it is acting, absolutely acting. Um, but the most valuable thing on top of that Meisner training was the improv, and I thank the Groundlings for that. I don't think I'd have a career without them.
I see. So that's how you got into voice acting.
Yep.
To be honest, there are two things I like to tell you. Number one, I know
Uh-huh.
Dave Fenoy himself. I interviewed him 3 years ago, and he's a very cool dude, actually.
He is a
Recently
very
got
cool
him,
dude.
he recently got himself into anime video games, and it's a very good choice there.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's super awesome,
Our
actually.
our training really showed itself when we both were brought to Dragon Con in Georgia, and we were both asked because we're both members of the cast of World of Warcraft to judge the costume contest they had that year. And Dave and I got there, and we were supposed to do the contest. And we get to each other. I said, "Hi, I'm Dino Andrade." He's like, "Hi, Dave Fenoy." And the person who escorted us, they just got this panic look on their face. Like, "Oh my God, you don't know each other?" Like, no, we actually record separately. We've never met before this moment. Like, but you two are supposed to host this together. And Dave and I both said, "Don't worry, the audience will never know we've never met. It will seem as if we've known each other for a million years." And sure enough, we both went out there and we just had this chemistry going back and forth. And yet, no one in the audience could have ever had a clue that we had just met for the very first time, like 10 minutes ago. So, that's our training. That's the instant acting.
I see. That's an interesting story you told me right there. But
Oh,
I was gonna tell you the second thing, but you
go
mentioned,
ahead.
to be honest with you, I was gonna tell you about what was your first ever character you get to play as, what way before others, but since you told me it's the little critters themselves,
Uh-huh.
you
The
just
little
made
critters.
you just made it much more easier for me to understand because the truth about it is that I needed that information just in case so that I could be able to put it for a voice showcase that I wanted to work for you. Just like I've worked for many others for almost a few years, like I did it for my friend Kevin D. Collins, through Billy Komet, through the deceased Tony Todd, for everybody else for 3 whole years. And it gained a lot of views because of the things I have done for everybody. And even for and eventually for you will be most spectacular. And that's why I need it chronologically as a way to evolutionize your voice acting for years.
Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I'm glad that you mentioned Tony Todd. Tony was a sweetheart. We actually, for a very short amount of time, were actually neighbors. I I would see him all the time,
You
walk
were
into a local.
neighbors?
Well, yes, we lived in the same neighborhood, and we'd see each other all the time, going back and forth. This little store near I think it's a national near Palms. We'd always run into in the on the West Los Angeles, the Palms bordering Culver City, and it was absolute sweetheart. And then we ran into each other on a couple of sessions, including sessions with my son, where I got to have pictures taken with him and my son, because we're both big big Star Trek fans, and we absolutely loved Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And he did an episode of that where he played the adult Benjamin Sisko, and it was just absolutely amazing. And it was great that Connor and I, my son, both got to tell him in person just how wonderful. And he told us that he thought it was the best thing he had ever done. And we agree. It's absolutely marvelous. Great episode. Great performance. I remember him saying that I believe it was his aunt, had just passed away, and he had channeled all of that into the making of that episode. He was just a very sweet and giving man. He will be very much missed.
Yeah. To be honest with you, he followed me on Twitter 3 years ago and has been
Oh,
supporting my videos for a for a long time. He even retweeted the stuff that I've done for him.
I'm
And
not surprised.
I wanted to
I'm
have a
not.
chance to interview him, but couldn't have the chance to do it. But I am glad that I made that video for him in order to help honor his legacy for his two last projects that he voices in. The Indiana Jones game in December, and the other one, as rumored, will be Devil May Cry anime series by Johnny Young Bosch.
That's
As
wonderful. That's
yeah,
absolutely wonderful.
yeah.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Yeah, he also delivered a wonderful performance in the movie Man from Earth, which was from a screenplay that was written by Jerome Bixby. Jerome Bixby is the guy who also wrote the Mirror Mirror episode of Star Trek. He wrote the It's a Good Life episodes of Twilight Zone, etc. And he was somebody who I grew up around the corner from where he lived and was good friends with his sons. And it was one of his sons who actually made that movie. And Tony Todd was one of the stars of that film. So he's kind of been in this orbit a good part of my life. And I will miss him.
I will too as well, since I felt devastated when he passed. So
Sure,
that's an honest thing I wanted to tell you. But
sure.
anyway, on the characters of questions of characters, but in the show Akuma Khan, what was
Mm-hmm.
your favorite part about playing Mephisto 2?
Oh, you know, I think my favorite part of it was just getting to play uh, this hero with supernatural powers because in most of these shows, especially anime, um, heroes with supernatural powers are always these actors that have these naturally deep pipes. These guys like Crispin Freeman are just blessed with these velvety pipes and so on. And me, I don't have that kind of voice, and it just so happened that my voice fit this character, and it was just such a huge surprise when I remember when I got the audition, looking at the image that was sent along with it, or as I like to say, the costume that came with character. I thought this doesn't look like that this guy was just a dad with glasses and so on. And I thought, I might actually have a chance at this. Well, it'll probably still go to some deep voiced, velvety voiced actor, but I'll give it a shot. And to my shock and surprise, I booked it. And so it was really fun to get to play because I'm mostly a character actor. I very seldom do things with my own natural voice. This was one of the few jobs where I did. Almost everything I do is character based. I love characters. Again, I'm a character actor. I love playing characters. This was very different for me. It was just my own voice, and I got to be this supernatural hero. That was cool. That never ever happens. I'm really hoping they're going to do a season 2. I would love to return and do more of this character. I had a ball. I never get to do that.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character. Because all
Mm-hmm.
I know is that voice director Taya Biller did a good job bringing you right there, especially when you got to
Thank you.
interact with your character gets to be with other people like Christina V through Kyle McCarley and Michael Johnston and plenty of others yet to
Mm-hmm.
come. And
Yep.
that is something I'm beginning to notice. And you being part of it, excellent choice right there. And I'm
Thank
loving
you.
it. Always,
Thank
my
you.
friend. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
how does it feel about playing Mayor Kawawara in FLCL Grunge?
Oh, well, see, now that goes back to what I was saying about liking character performances and character actors and that kind of thing. And that just dived just right in that wheelhouse. Right in that wheelhouse. I love playing characters. And this guy was so completely off the wall, when he would taste something and just completely freak out. Oh, that's what it's like. That's just so much fun. So much fun. And I love that. I mean, I am a huge, anybody who follows me on social media knows that I'm a huge fan of movies, um, from the silent era on up. the thing that really got me into movies was falling in love with character performances. Um, I mean, it's Bride of Frankenstein, one of the greatest films ever made, and full of brilliant character performances from Boris Karloff to Ernest Thesiger to, I mean, just it is just a magnificent film. John Carradine's in it. Of course, Colin Clive and all these, just all these magnificent character performances in this film, and that's what I fell in love with. That's what I wanted to do. It was around it was the mid 70s when I was just getting old enough to really recognize that these were not real people. These were actors and they were playing parts. And looking at things like Albert Finney in the 1974 version of, and I still think the definitive version of Murder on the Orient Express, uh, um, looking at Michael York in The Island of Dr. Moreau, Roddy McDowall in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, earlier films, seeing Gregory Peck in Moby Dick, Charles Laughton in Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then a couple years later, seeing Jack Nicholson in The Shining. All of these performances, they were things that just made me say, I want to do that. I want to do that. I remember there was a film with Kirk Douglas. What was the name? I think it was called Tough Guys, with Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, and going with my drama group, all of us in class. At the Meisner, we all went to the Chinese theater to see it opening because it was I mean, Spartacus and Elmer Gantry and all starring. It was great seeing these two guys in this movie. And there's a small role in it played by Eli Wallach, who's just this curmudgeon-y little guy, so on. And to me, he stole every scene. He wasn't the star. He didn't have the most screen time. But every time I saw this guy that was played, I said, that's what I want to play. That's what I want to do. I want to be that guy. That's the one I want to be, And also with television, I grew up watching all 30 years of Columbo, Peter Falk for from the late 60s into the 90s. It was just I loved that performance. Absolutely, this guy was an inspiration to me. Jeez, let me tell you, I loved everything this guy did. It was wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful. He made me want to be an actor. This guy did. That's the truth. Absolutely. Just one more thing. Actually, that's up to you. What other questions do you have?
Oh, honestly, I was gonna say to you that you being part of FLCL Grunge is a very awesome thing right there. Especially when Michael Nicholas and Stephanie Shea brought you in,
Mm-hmm.
alongside Casey Mongelo and of course the legendary Kari Walgren, who actually
Uh-huh.
does that main character for almost a few years, which was her first ever character since 2001. So you being
They
part
are
of it, best
they
choice
are all
ever.
friends. They are all friends. I love Carrie. Stephanie and Michael brought me in on a movie that I had a blast working on. Was an anime style. It was a French film actually, but was done in anime style. It was a film called MFKZ, and that was a blast. Absolutely loved working on this movie. So yeah, I've known them for ages. I've known them for ages. They're wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, especially when they brought you to a lot of projects. And speaking of that, I do
Hmm.
like to ask you before that, I have other questions to tell you, but
Please,
how
please.
how is it like playing Yo-Yo Ma in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean?
But it's kind of the same answer as the mayor. It was a character part, and I love burying myself in characters. And he was just a sick, sinister little guy, and I had a ball with him. It's a lot of fun. I was hoping they'd have more with him, but they didn't. Yeah. It's a fun character. It's a fun character. And the thing is that I try to look for, whenever I work in anime, I try to find the quirk in the character, because there's always been this kind of argument about how much, you know, real acting or freedom or whatever, however you want to put it, there is in anime, because you are locked into the performance that is visually already there, and you have to match lip flap. And I know that there are some people who you know, don't really consider that to be real acting, that it's just a technical skill. And I completely disagree with this idea. And one of the things is I look at um Benicio del Toro in the movie The Usual Suspects. And I look at this part that he plays. It was just this kind of mumbly, tweaky little guy, and he's got these weird, odd. He has this odd speech pattern and so on. And so that's what I do whenever I approach an anime. I think about what is the mentality of this character that he has such an odd speech pattern, as opposed to saying I've got to match the lip flap. So I make the fact that he might have an odd pause here and there just part of who he is, just part of his mentality, you know, and I make that part of the character. So that's what I do. Every time I do an anime, I always think, okay, what kind of Benicio del Toro character am I doing now? You know, to so that I'm not thinking about the technical aspects of just something I have to do. I just say that's just part of the character. That's just part of his personality. He has odd little pauses. He'll say things in a very weird little way because that's just, you know, how it goes, you know. And so I make it just part of his mentality. So it's still pure acting, regardless of the technical aspect.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character right there. To be honest, there are two things I like to tell you in a quick way, but number one is that the mouth flaps right there, it reminds me of a class that I've taken a few months ago where I've learned about what it means to be part of anime, and me learning the mouth flaps and stuffing is it's something I begin to understand. And I tested it out, and boy, did it end up working. And number two is that you being part of JoJo's was a very awesome choice, especially when Tony Oliver was able to bring you in alongside Bill Millsap, who I got to interview with like a few months ago, and then bringing you in, best choice ever.
Oh, I love Tony Oliver. Tony Oliver, funnily enough, my work with Tony Oliver has been not as fellow actors, but being directed by him. We did a series that we recorded for 6 straight months, every week for 6 straight months. It was a show called The Beach Buds. And this show has been picked up in pretty much every country on the planet, except for some strange reason, this one. And it is a marvelous, marvelous show. I was the star of the show. I played this character named Bio. That was this character here, and Tony Oliver was the director, and it was the most joyous 6 months of my entire career. It was so wonderful. I had Christopher Smith, Austin Lee Matthews, Kimlin Tran, just marvelous, marvelous actors. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I had working with all of these people. It was just pure joy, absolutely pure joy. The best time I ever had. I wish this show would be released in the U.S. It is quite wonderful. That's the best time I ever had. The only thing that ever eclipsed my time on Beach Buds, the only thing that ever eclipsed my time on Beach Buds, is anytime I've ever gotten to work with my son.
You know, to be honest with you, I was gonna ask you that question, but you just answered for me about that character. And I should thank you for answering that question for me. And you are a kind, wonderful soul there, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
But anyway, what's
Mm-hmm.
the most awesome thing when playing Yellow Keeper in Go Go Loser Ranger?
Oh, the comedy, because this is you know, that kind of hero guy. It's not somebody that I ever really get cast in a serious role. Um, but I will get cast in something like that when it's funny. And that's what I enjoyed about that, was playing the comedy. Was
I
playing the comedy. And that is my favorite thing to do. My favorite thing in anything, whether it's original animation, whether it's anime, whether it's a movie, whatever, of all the things that I am most proud of, and there's a few things I'm proud of, a few things I'm not. Most of the things I'm proud of is anything that can make somebody laugh, because I know how important, how healing, how therapeutic, laughter. When they say laughter is the best medicine, it is absolutely true. I think a lot of people who've know my story know that I am a widower. Yeah, finding the ability to laugh again was healing. It was life saving. So there is nothing that I do that is more important to me than comedy. I mean, there's some other things that I'm very, very proud of, like being part of the team that did the voice of Dracula in Last Voyage of the Demeter, because that was a Universal production, and I got to be of Universal monster. I got to be Dracula in a Universal monster movie. That's bucket list stuff. Okay, that's like very few things come close to matching how special that is in my life. Okay. Uh, um, but still, I would put above that anything that makes somebody laugh,
I,
because that
mm.
to me is precious. People need that. People need to laugh.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character. Because all I know is that, again, Michael and Stephanie did a good job bringing you in. Get
Mm-hmm.
you being part of next to Michael Nicholas through Cherimi Length and Allison Misa and Jonah Scott. And you are like one of those bad guys right there who are just
Mm-hmm.
wanting to who just using those minions for their own ambitions. But you know what the best part is? That there's a second season coming next year
Oh, good.
your character will play a significant role right there
No
eventually.
kidding. You know
Yes,
more about it than I do. And
indeed.
when you say that Stephanie brought me in, that is absolutely 100% true. I did not audition for that role. They just looked at it and said, "Oh yeah, Dino," and they they called my agent. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very, very grateful. I like any aspect of this industry. I don't take any of it for granted. I don't
Oh,
take any of it for granted. I am nothing but absolutely grateful to 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 the fact that I can actually be in this industry. I am very, very grateful to all of the people who have helped me get here. All of the folks that I've trained with. It's I'm a very grateful person.
I see. Which leads me to my last question to you, and I want us
Sure.
to make this quick because of 6 minutes right there.
Oh,
But
okay.
what's the most what's the most biggest thing when you got to be in Batman Arkham Asylum as Scarecrow?
It was the fact that my first wife, my late wife, Mary Kay Bergman, was the voice of Batgirl in Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub Zero. She also voiced Batgirl in a couple episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Um, and uh, and so the fact that I got this role meant that I got to be involved in a franchise that was directly connected to Mary Kay. I mean, there's a lot of other things that I could go into about the fact that there was that it was a great legacy role, that there were great people uh, Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy and all these people and all of these folks. Uh, but the truth is, there was nothing more special than this feeling of coming full circle. I was directed by Colette Sunderman, who directed Mary Kay in many things. And literally after the first session, and there were numerous sessions, after the first session, I didn't even make it home. I had to pull over because I just started crying. It was, that was the thing. I mean, it's very easy to talk about how, well, the Scarecrow's a great legacy character, and I was just, but honestly, if I'm to be completely honest with you, it was doing this thing that my wife had been a part of, and it felt like it was a gift from her, and I still feel that way.
I see. So that's what you love about being that character. All I know is that
That
I've
is
got to
100% it.
I've known about the game because of my uncle playing it years ago, and you being part of it, best choice ever. Especially to honor her legacy as a way to, pay to who you really are and just being you. And raising your son is the most awesome thing ever right there. And that's the most grateful gift that I'm beginning to see from you, just like I've
Yeah,
done
my
for
my
my
son is my
family.
second chance at life. Yeah.
And so does my family as well. So that's an important thing to tell you. But to answer you to make it quick, when you look back, is there anything you would have done differently when starting your voice acting career? And you can answer it in a quick way before the time expires.
Anything I would have done differently? Whew. Well, I had no idea that my career would end up in, because I began in voice and then went to on camera, and I wanted to, really go forward as a character actor, and things just were not working out as an on camera actor. I don't know how much I could have done differently, because all of those experiences made me the actor and person that I am. I mean, I could say I wish maybe I took it more seriously when I was in my 20s, or maybe I tried to work even further on camera. It's just like, I don't know. It's hard to look back on it when I see so many things have happened in my life that I have managed to survive and get through and have a good and happy life as an actor, as a father, just as a person, and the things that I'm doing. But all of those experiences made me who I am. I mean, I took the classes. I did. I mean, I that's. I guess that's my answer. I am who I am because of those experiences, and you know, I don't think I should change any of that.
I see. And to be honest, I'm very glad you told me this. Made me feel enlightened to the choices I'll eventually do eventually. So that's what I'm gonna do. Well, Dino, it's such an honor to have you in my show, and that hopefully in the near future we get to work with each other and, of course, with your son when the time comes.
There you go. There you go. Thank
I
you. Thank you
I
so
look
much.
forward to meeting you in person when the time comes. And until then, we just get in touch with each other through social media, my friend.
There you go. There you go.
See you
Thank you so
around,
much.
Dino. Take care and do something awesome. Bye.
I'm always trying.
You will. Bye bye.